Hey everyone, I have people asking me what I'm planting and what I'm doing with these jugs. So I have gathered all my ingredients. This is potting soil that I've already pre-moistened. I have my jug that I had a bunch of neighbors give me 5 of them yesterday. So I cut it in half. You can use a serrated knife, the heavy duty scissors, box cutter, whatever's easiest for you. Leave yourself a 1/2 inch or so hinge there. And on the bottom, you want to drill holes. I usually use a soldering iron, and I've drilled 3 holes in the bottom because these are smaller containers. My milk jugs, I usually put 5 in, and then I also put a hole on the side so that way if the bottom's clogged or stuffed with snow or grass or mud, it can still leak out the side. So I pre-moistened the potting soil. Put it in here. You want to make sure you have about 4 inches of soil in the container, and the lid is going to act like basically like a little greenhouse. So soldering gun you can use to make the holes. You can also use a drill. A lot of people prefer that. Some people will heat up a screwdriver on the side of a stove, whatever works for you. So I went ahead, filled the dirt. You want it really wet, but not like soaking, draining water all over the place, kind of wet. So you also want a spray bottle, so that way you can keep the top moist. Before I put the seed in, because this is a potting mix, you see how thick it is, it's more coarse grind. I like to put a little bit of seed starting soil in there. You'll see how it's so much finer and how it's ground up. Moisten everything down, because the thing is, you want this really wet in here, because then you're going to rely on Mother Nature to wet it from the top. This hole will allow snow, rain, and then of course condensation on the plastic. So I'm going to put my stake in there so I don't forget it. I do use a paint marker to put it on there, plus I'll also write it on the outside. Paint marker won't fade in the UV like a lot of people think Sharpies and stuff, and they don't work well at all. So now that I have my seed mix on there, I'm going to add some seeds. Now these are cabbage, so they're cold varieties. They can go out probably the middle or end of March. And because these plants are going to be in here and stay in here so long until they can be transplanted, you really don't want to put a lot in here. Like I said, these are smaller containers, so I don't want to put a lot in here, especially since they're going to be fighting for nutrients. And so 5 I think is plenty. And I'll move this one guy over so he can be over there. They're really tiny seeds. So I put 5 cabbage seeds in there. I'm going to take, and you barely want to cover the seeds. Ignore what the packages say. You really just want to put a little bit of dirt on the top. Just barely cover them with just a tiny bit of dirt. But when you're planting in these little, basically mini greenhouses, you don't want to cover them. You know, like some packages will tell you a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1 inch. You don't want to do that. You just want them barely covered. Moisten it again, because I want this to stay really moist in there, really wet. Now I'm going to seal it with duct tape, and you want the duct tape to go all the way around. I usually start at a corner and make sure it goes above and below the line. Now you want to make sure you press above the line and below the line, so that way you get a good contact with the plastic. And for me, I use different colors of duct tape. This way I know it's one of my cooler greens and only needs part sun. I'll stick that on the side so I can see it from far away. And then inside, now these I can see inside and actually see what the tag says, but a lot of times you'll be using milk jugs and things that you can't read through. So I'm just gonna write red cabbage on here, really messy, obviously, really bad with these ridges and stuff on here. And I'm gonna put 2 because today is February 2nd. These are ready to go outside. I have put a label inside, labeled it on the outside in case the outside fades. Also, next year, if you want to reuse these bottles, take a little sandpaper and just scratch it off. I've taped it all the way around. It's real moist. It's got drainage holes now. Mother Nature will sit out there, and when it warms up, the seedlings will come to life. The rain the snow and condensation in this container will help keep it moist. When the seedlings are growing, now the cabbage I'm going to probably plant by April 1st, but things like tomatoes, peppers, stuff like that, it won't germinate till later when it's even warmer. And by the time I can put them in the ground, the end of April, 1st of May, it's going to basically be sticking out of the top. So these will already be hardened off in the weather, so you don't have to worry about that. They'll be strong because they'll already have the sunlight on all sides. No need for inside lighting, heat, you know, mats and all that other crazy stuff. Mother Nature will do the work for you, and she'll start the seeds when they're ready.